You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, Days of Our Lives fans. I have got a big year-end update for you. This is about everyone who left Days of Our Lives in 2023. Some who were scheduled to be in and out, and some who were part of that mass cast firing that took out a lot of women and only one male, reportedly at the hands of himself now fired producer Albert Alarr. We're going to dig into all this and tell you everybody who went in 2023. If you haven't already, though, please reach down, click subscribe so you don't miss any of our updates, spoilers, and news. As you guys know, Days of Our Lives is usually a revolving door of cast in and cast out, but it was kind of like a slaughter of firings in 2023. So many fan favorites and familiar faces were shown the door. Many of them reported to be at the hands of Albert Alarr. So I'm not going to start with those, though. I'm going to start with some of the other exits that we saw. Two huge comebacks that then turned into huge exits that caused big anticipation and then kind of a big disappointment was the return of Kistian Alfonso and Peter Reckell as Bo and Hope Brady. They stayed less than 2 months, and then of course Bo was shot by his son and they were left unreconciled. The promos announcing their return basically promised us a love story, and that's not what we got, and that's why I found their very short arc very unsatisfactory, and I hope we get them back as a couple later. Peter Reckell said he's hoping they get to come back, but for now, they were in and out less than 2 months, an unsatisfying ending. Matthew Ashford and Katie McLean both exited in 2023 as Jack Devereaux and Jennifer Horton. Their last episodes were in March. Teo Penglis and Leanne Hunley were only on screen for about 10 episodes of 2023 as Tony DiMera and Anna DiMera. They both exited in June. And Judy Evans hasn't been around much as Bonnie Kiriakis. She was last seen on screen in October, and I don't know if you guys remember, but she is rumored to be one of the people that was subject to some horrible verbal abuse from the now fired producer, who basically used an anti-gay slur against her about the way she was dressed in this specific glittery jumpsuit. It was a very nasty comment that I'm not going to repeat. Charles Shaughnessy showed up for a single episode in 2023 as Shane Donovan. I love him, and even if it was for just one, I was happy to see him. He was on screen long enough to drop off Victor Kiriakis' briefcase into the hands of his scheming daughter, Teresa Donovan, who then altered Victor's will to cheat Xander Kiriakis out of his birthright. Louise Sorrell was in and out as Stefan DiMera's toxic mom, Vivian Alamain. She got out of prison, and then she shot Dimitri von Leuschner to save her baby boy from being shot by DVL, and then she skipped town to avoid consequences. Kyle Lowder was in and out as Rex Brady. He last returned to marry Sarah Horton and try and claim Xander's baby as his own to raise. His last episode came after Sarah said she didn't want the marriage and was gonna let Xander know his daughter. He left on October 13th. And speaking of returnees, Chandler Massey was back as Will Horton for a hot minute, but then he took a job in New Zealand and left Salem again in March. Zach Tinker was also back as Sonny Kiriakis, but his last air date was in late September. Victor Kiriakis' funeral brought back Rachel Melvin for just a moment as Chelsea Brady, and Sal Stowers and Layman Archie were briefly back when Abe had his Whitley King crisis after the attack by Sloane's crazy brother. Lonnie and Eli left in 2023 with her back to prison and him back to taking care of their twins. Speaking of Sloane's psycho brother, Colin Bedford, he was played excellently by Jasper Newman. He terrorized Chanel and Paulina, but was sent off to prison, last seen in June 2023. Maybe his sister will get to see him when and if she's behind bars for stealing Nicole's baby. So a really fun blast from the past in 2023 was Adam Kane as Susan Banks' Psycho ex Edmund Crumb. He wasn't around very long, but it was very amusing while he was on screen. He was last seen October 4th. The DiMera family pet mad scientist, Dr. Rolf, shipped out on the submarine in early November, and that's coincidentally when Li Shen was supposedly murdered. But I suspect Remington Hoffman's character is not dead, but slid out of town with Rolf after staging his own murder to screw over Gabi and Stefan. So I suspect he'll be back one day, as will Rolf. Lee's controlling daddy, Wei Shen, also had a few episodes in 2023. We last saw Clyde Kusatsu in March. It's been a minute, I will say, since we've seen Stacey Heideck as Kristen DiMera. It was back in October, but she's been name dropped recently. She's on recurring, so I do expect to see her in 2024. Tanner Stein had a few episodes as Joey Johnson in 2023, but wrapped his run in May. Colton Little had 17 episodes as Andrew Donovan, most recently showing up in Salem to accuse his sister Teresa of kidnapping the baby, which she confessed to, but she lied about her reasons. He was in and out last time on December 20th. Not only is Leo Stark missing Dimitri von Leuschner, but I am too. The hottie with a body was shipped off to Supermax thanks to Melinda Trask's awful influence. Peter Porta's last episode was December 11th. And speaking of hunky DVL, his crazy mom, Megan Hathaway, played by Miranda Wilson, was done on June 27th. She also slid out of town, but she did it on the sly. And we met Elliot Roth briefly. He was the lawyer who cut Dimitri a check after he fake married Gwen, but Elliot was quietly cheering the gay couple in love. And Lord Sebastian Alamein, like Dimitri, went from Beyond Salem to the flagship show, but Noah Huntley only got one episode this year. Sierra Brady was back for a moment for Bo and Hope, giving us 4 Victoria Conifal episodes in 2023. And another blink and miss it return was Chriselle Staus as Jordan Ridgway, who turned up during the heavenly captivity of Marlena, Kate, and Kayla. Lindsay Arnold left town of her own accord, reportedly. She decided to explore other things. Her last episode as Allie Horton was in February 2023 after she cheated with Alex and Chanel busted them and dumped her. Cassie DePaiva had a single episode as Eve Donovan at the mental hospital. She was back to confront her high school tormentor, Harris Michaels. That was a one and done, blink and miss it. Another interesting return in 2023 was Christopher Sean as Paul Narita. He got to meet his biological granddad, Timothy Robichaux, as part of Dick Van Dyke's epic arc as John Black's daddy. Paul was back for a handful of episodes this past year, last appearing September 2023. Dick Van Dyke's run as Timothy wasn't long, but it was really good stuff. His last episode was mid-September, and George Del Hoyo reprised the role of Orpheus in 2023, but was done by late February. You may recall he targeted Kayla, Kate, and Marlena and marked them for death. He's lucky he survived with his own life because the guys were planning to kill him. Terrell Ransom Jr., who once played Theo, did a quick turn in 2023 as Jerry Prentice, the actor who helped Whitley King gaslight Abe Carver. He had a few episodes this summer, and the real Theo also showed up, of course, played by Cameron Johnson, for part of Abe's crisis. Speaking of crazy Nurse Whitley, Kim Coles played the psychotic nurse who stole Abe from his family. She was last seen Halloween 2023, and I assume is in a padded cell somewhere. And another person linked to Abe's amnesia story was Grayson Berry, who played the annoying Deputy Mayor Clint Rawlings. He tried to take over while Abe was down and out with amnesia. Fantastic character actor David S. Lee only scored a handful of episodes. He played creepy Gil Carter, Clyde's flunky, who was bossing around Ava, having her run drugs at the bistro, but she shot and killed him after he tried to rape her, and his last episode was November 21st. Great actor, creepy character. So now The rumored pile of exits many have suggested were the work of now fired producer Albert Alarr included Nadja Borland as Chloe Lane. Her last episode was in October. She left with Philip Kiriakis, who was played this time around by Jean-Paul Lavoisier. Another casualty of the cast cuts was Camilla Banus, who exited as Gabi Hernandez in early November. I'm quite confident that she's about to be recast, though, so I expect to see her at some point in 2024. Yet another heartbreaking exit this year was Martha Madison as Belle Black. She rejected an offer to show up every now and then for legal advice. She made a classy exit in November after the insulting offer days made for her to recur occasionally. Belle's exit followed her on-screen hubby, Sean Brady, who left Salem to get treatment for his alcohol issues. Brandon Beamer was reportedly the only male cast member part of the massive cuts. His last day was October 12th. Another Alarr-related cast cut reportedly was Jen Lilly. She returned to reprise the role of Teresa Donovan around the time of Victor Kiriakis' funeral, but she was abruptly cut after just 10 episodes and replaced with Emily O'Brien, and Jen's last episode was September 22nd. So another casualty of the massive cast cuts was Aketra Civilian, who played Jada's sister Talia Hunter. But I mean, the writing was kind of on the wall for her when she was working with Crazy Colin, but she seemed to be redeemed. She was in therapy. She was settling into a new job at the hospital. But then they had her bang Sean and hightail it out of town. The show slashed her character and wrote out the actress. She was last seen in mid-October. That is a whole lot of exits, right? Can you believe it? That's everything I have. If you haven't already, please reach down, click subscribe so you don't miss any of our day's updates. And man, can you believe how many people left? I mean, it's usually a revolving door, but this was a tough year with some beloved actresses in particular, and one actor shown the door summarily. It's frustrating, but it is what it is. All right, that's everything. Please drop your comments below on what you think about these exits. Be sure and check back every single day. This is Belinda from Soap Dirt, and I'm here talking days with you guys 7 days a week. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.